Let me show you what we call the no management account structure that we used to add $9,000 in sales in the last week to this account without making any changes in the past week. For some context here, the week of April the 7th to the 13th, we spent $5,700 and made back about $12K. And the week after that, so the week of the 14th to the 20th, we spent $11K and made back $21K. And as a nuance, of course, we can see that the return on ad spend went from a 2.08 down to a 1.89, and that's okay. In this case, for this brand, the unit economics at a 1.89 in platform is actually fine. And we are happy to take more sales and profit volume over a higher ROAS number just for the sake of having higher profit percentages. The actual dollar amount in profit that's generated is actually what matters most. Let's walk through and show what the account structure looks like when it comes to adding $9,000 in sale without making any changes at all with our no management account structure. For some context, before we get into the technical stuff, Facebook ads is kind of like working out and exercise, where virtually every strategy out there works and every methodology out there works. And the strategy that you choose to use really comes down to your own philosophies and how it is you like to operate. On one hand, as an example with the working out and exercise analogy, you have people who are on this side of, let's call it, high intensity training, where people are doing super low volume. So they're doing one set to failure once per week for each muscle group. And that is how they are making incredible progress in the gym. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there are people who do what we'd call high volume training, where they are going to the gym 6 to 7 times per week and they love it, right? It's their way of decompressing. And they're doing something like 5 to 10 sets per body part per week. And on both sides of the spectrum, you have people who are in incredible shape, despite doing the opposite or the seemingly opposite strategies. Similarly, when running your ad on Facebook, we have similar polarity, where on one side, you have guys like Alfred and I who are more hands-off, low management, and more set and forget when it comes to our philosophy and the way that we like to operate when it comes to media buying with Facebook. And then on the other side, you have those who prefer watching performance closely like a hawk every few hours or intraday and making tiny little adjustments as KPIs are getting updated. And then also making changes frequently to stuff like budget every day or every few days. And the reality is, it's not that one side is better than the other, because both sides actually experience performance and the ability to hate KPIs and numbers. But it comes more down to, how do you want to operate? What is your preference and your style? Because just like with exercise and working out, pretty much everything works as long as you stick with it and you commit to it. So our structure is best explained first with an analogy before getting into the technicalities. What I have in front of me here is a t-shirt store that you may be familiar with if you are a millennial or a younger Gen X or an older Gen Z. And for the sake of example, let's say you are in charge of operating this store that sells t-shirts and other knickknacks. And your job is to make as much profit dollars as possible. It's not to make as many sales as possible. And it's not to make the highest profit percentage possible. It's to make the highest amount of profit dollars. And as a nuance, this store is in New Jersey and in a touristy location, which means that there is a nuance. And that nuance is there's this thing that we all have to be mindful of, which is seasonality. Because it's in New Jersey and because it's at the beach, we will say that the summer months tend to get more people coming through and the winter months are much slower. As a recap, our mission is there's seasonality. There is make sales while keeping profit volume high. And then there's also the nuance of we don't care about profit percentage. We care about profit dollars. That is your mission. And the great thing about this mission is that you have someone in town who everybody goes to for advertising. And his name is, call him Jersey Mark. Everybody goes to Jersey Mark for advertising because he is known for helping lots of businesses local to you with focusing on this outcome, which is your profit dollars. You set up a meeting with Jersey Mark and you meet with him personally. And what he does is he shares with you very simply the menu of things that he can help you with, or rather the menu of how he can help you. So he has 4 different ways that he can help you that you can choose from. The first way he can help you is like this, where he says, give me a daily budget and I'll put flyers in front of people every day for you. In this case, what it really comes down to is you say something like, all right, Mark, I'll give you $50 a day and you do what you can with it. Just get my store in front of people. That's it. Mark, you have $50 a day worth of budget. Go do your thing. That is way number 1 on how Mark can help you. Then way number 2 that he tells you is something like this. You have a budget of $50 a day if you can bring in t-shirt sales or customers for me at $10 per customer on average. As a contrast, in way number 1, in the first way that Mark can help you, you tell him, you got $50, go do what you want with it. I trust you, go do your thing. Way number 2 on the menu is a little bit more nuanced, where he gets the same daily budget, but there's a constraint. And that is, you can go through this budget if you want, if you forecast and you are confident that over time, within the next 7 days, you're able to turn this $50 budget into $10 customers, where they are coming into the store and each person who has transacted with me has costed no more than $10 in advertising on average. That's way number 2. And then way number 3 is where he does a deal with you where you tell him this. You say, you have a budget of $50 a day only if you bring t-shirt sales for me at no more than $10 per customer. You can go through this budget Mark, as long as you have extreme confidence that when I spend this $50 budget, you get me 5 customers at $10 or less. Or rather, you get me at least 5 customers, if not more, so that it backs out to $10 or less per customer that I've advertised to. Those are the first 3. And now the last one is this one over here, where Mark is open to this sort of deal structure. Or rather, he gives you the option of this deal structure where you tell him you have a budget of $50 a day and you can spend it any way you want, as long as I make back $100 or more. In this case, you don't care whether it's 1 customer who spends $100 with you or 3 customers who spend $33 or so with you. As long as he is able to turn your $50 into $100, you're cool with it. And so when zooming out, you realize you have some options. As a recap, option number 1, you give him a budget and you say, just do your thing outright. That's it. Just do your thing. Option number 2, you have a daily budget and I only want you to go through this daily budget if you can confidently spend it and get me an average cost per customer of $10. The third one is you have your daily budget and I only want you to go through it if you can confidently get me customers for $10 or less per transaction. And the last one is you have your daily budget and you can spend it however you want, as long as I am making back $100 on $50 worth of advertising. And you take this information and you go home and you start thinking about which one do I want to go with. And the thing that Mark actually tells you during your meeting with him is that you actually don't need to choose between 1, 2, 3, or 4. He actually has the ability to go and advertise for you and do any of these 4 either on their own or all 4 at the same time. And the ball is in your court for which decision you want to make. And the interesting thing about this, right, is that this menu of options is actually not something that's hypothetical. This is actually built in Mark's system on Facebook and Meta. The first one over here is called highest volume bidding. The second one is called cost per result goal bidding. The third one is called bid cap. And then the fourth one is called ROAS goal. And so bringing it back to the account that we were talking about at the beginning, you can see here on the menu, we have in the top spending campaigns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we are using menu item number 2, which is cost per result goal. And also threw in a little bit of bid cap, which is menu item number 3, and ROAS goal as well. And then how we leverage it to go from 12K in sales in the 7 days prior to 21 in the most recent 7 days is because, going back to the Jersey Mark analogy, we basically just tell Mark, hey, you have a budget of $1,000 per day only if you can bring in sales for me at X per conversion, which means that on some days he might only spend $100 worth of budget. On other days, he'll spend $500. And then on other days, he'll actually spend through the entire $1,000. It all depends on his confidence and his forecast on the consumers he has access to. And when we tie it back to the analogy, when it comes to seasonality, having these options and utilizing these options that we have in front of us of cost per result goal, bid cap, and ROAS goal, we are able to take advantage of seasonality on the macro and then also seasonality on the micro. And what I mean by that is there is micro seasonality even week to week, which advertisers will call day of the week effects, where certain days, such as on the weekends, there will be more people walking by the shop, walking by the pier, walking throughout New Jersey, and more willing to buy during those periods or days. Here's an example of that in one of the campaigns, where all we do is in the last 60 days or so, this campaign has been set at a budget of about $1,000 a day. And what we can see here is over the last 14 days worth of data, the spend actually fluctuates. On the 7th of April, it spent $157. And then when we go down to the 18th and the 19th, it spent $1,100, which goes back to here, which is if Mark has the conviction and the confidence and the data to spend through budget on a given day because of forecasting that he's going to get us X dollars per conversion, then he's going to go and do it. Whereas on other days, he may not have that same level of conviction. Bringing it all together, what does the no management structure look like? Well, it looks like this. First, we have one campaign per country or product, just to make it easier for us to subjectively manage things on the macro. And again, the nuance around no management is we're not micromanaging hour to hour or even day to day. Number two is we are using cost controls from Mark. So we use a mix of these options over here on the Jersey Mark menu. And the last thing is we give inflated budgets to Mark, just like we did over here, where we say, hey, here's your budget of $1,000 a day. Let's pair that together with a constraint around you only spending this if you can hit certain KPIs for us, which means that some weeks, Mark might spend $5,700 for us and make back 12. And on other weeks, he might spend $11,000 and make back $21,000.